Hello to you all today. This is something a little different. We are going to start reading Greek and Roman ancient literature. I have been reading the practice of dream healing, which is about the Asclepian temples and how people would go and watch a Greek tragedy to get over their own issues. Now, the book that we are going to read today is The Trojan Women by Euripides, and it was probably written at about 400 to 500 BC, and they would have all gone to watch this as a collective grieving. So I'm going to read an adaptation of the play. This was performed in 1966, and it was directed by Frank Dunlop. And I'm going to read a list of the characters who were Poseidon, Pallas Athena, Hecuba, the chorus leader and the chorus, Telethibius, Cassandra, Andromeda, Astyanax, Helen, Menelaus, and the soldiers. And this tells a story taking place by the walls of Troy. I'm going to read the introduction at the end. So just to set the scene, Troy has fallen. All of the men have been killed and the women are taken into slavery. Scene 1. Poseidon enters. I, Poseidon, the god of the sea, have abandoned my shoal of lively Nereids and risen from the deep to gaze upon this bonfire that was Troy. Many years ago, with our own hands, Phoebus, Apollo, and I piled stone upon stone and built the walls of that proud city. Since then, I have loved every stone of it. He pauses and looks down at the ruins. Nothing but ash will be left. Now there are no priests in the sacred groves, only corpses. Our temples bleed and the Greeks laid waste to every one. On the very steps of the altar of Zeus, king of all the gods, and my own brother, they slit King Priam's throat. These Grecian vandals who sacked my city will carry their plunder off with them to deck out their wives and children with the gold and jewels of Phrygia. 10 times the season for sowing the corn came around, and still the Greeks stayed there, watching and growing old, obstinately besieging the city. But now it's all over. Their ships are ready and only wait for the wind. It is not courage but cunning which triumphs. Now the Trojans are dead, all of them, but these are their women, some to become officers' concubines, others mere slaves. That one over there with the fat belly is the poor queen Hecuba. She is weeping, grieving for her husband and sons. It is I who have been defeated, for now who will serve or worship me? In all these streets of ash, nobody. Hera, my own sister-in-law, goddess of Argos, my niece Pallas Athena, goddess of Attica, combined with their powers to destroy my precious Phrygians. To break my heart, I am defeated, I give in. what can I do with these ruins? Farewell, noble city. I shall never look upon your ramparts or gaze upon your glistening towers again. My masterpiece is destroyed. Farewell. But for Pallas, Athena's spite, proud Troy would stand here still. Scene 2. Athena enters and walks up to Poseidon. Poseidon! He turns angrily to leave. No, stay, most powerful god, whom we lesser deities worship, whom my own father looks up to. Poseidon, when you are polite, Athene, you put me on my guard. Athena replies, if I can put our undying hatred to one side, will you listen to me? Poseidon, why not? It is always pleasant to have a family trapped amongst mortal enemies. Athena, quite. Let's be civilized. I have a proposition to make. It's to our mutual interest, and it concerns Troy. Poseidon, you can see yourself what is left of it. It's a little late to have any regrets. Athena, don't worry. I am not going to feign sorrow over your city. I decided to wipe it off the face of the earth, and that is what I did. What I want to do is punish those Greeks. The Greeks? Poseidon questioned. None other. Will you help me? But they are your allies. You've only just given them this victory. For the goddess of reason, aren't you being a trifle unreasonable? I've never known any other god to switch so capriciously as you do from love to hate. Athena replied, they have insulted me. Cassandra took refuge in my temple. Ajax dragged her out of it by her hair. And do you know not a single Greek lay a hand on him or tried to prevent him from perpetrating this piece of sacrilegious profanity? Not one. And to top that, the temple dedicated to me now burns. Mine too, Poseidon said. Both of us have been desecrated. Will you help me? Athena petitions. And comfort your dead? Poseidon replies, you are my niece, but you have done me a terrible injury. Do not imagine I shall forget it or omit to take my revenge, but I will help you. Athena, we must bring about a catastrophic return journey. Zeus has promised me rain, hail, and a hurricane, and will hurl his shafts of lightning against their fragile fleet. You must gather up all your waves into one great wall of water, and when it is as high as a mountain, fling it down upon them. And as for those who reach the straits of Euboea, let the sea open up beneath them to suck them all down into oblivion. Let every single one drown, so long as Greece learns respect for me. Poseidon answers, it shall be done. On the beaches of Mykonos, from Skyros to Lemnos, against the reefs of Delos, at the base of the promontory of Caphereus, my innumerable mouths shall vomit their corpses. Return to Olympus, niece, watch. When they start to cast off their ropes, ask your father to send down his thunderbolts. Athene and Poseidon exit the stage. Scene 3. Hecuba, Queen of Troy, is now seen for the first time. She is lying on the ground. She tries to get up. Up you get, you poor old crone. Never mind your broken neck. You are on your knees today, but tomorrow you may fall on your feet. Be patient, philosophical. Being sorry for yourself will not get you anywhere. It never does. It never did. Don't try to swim against the current. When destiny wants to destroy you, let it. But it's no use. Not even my courage can stand up to the flood of my grief, in its full spate of sorrow. Now there is no sorrow in the world which is not my sorrow. I was a queen, my husband a king. I bore him fine sons, and the Greeks cut them down one by one. As for my husband Priam, these same eyes that weep watched when they bled him on the steps of the altar, and saw his throat open like a mouth, and his blood flow and flow over his golden skin. While my daughters, who were to be betrothed to the greatest kings of Asia, they have all been dragged off to Europe as chattels to bad masters. O Troy, your full sails were bellowed with your own glory. They cracked in the sun and sagged. It was only hot air that had filled them. I talk too much, but I cannot remain silent, and silence cannot feel any more than words can. Shall I then weep? I cannot. I have no words left within me. I can only throw my body upon the indifferent ground, and let it mourn noiselessly, rolling from side to side like an old hulk in the tempest. Hecuba throws herself down again, but then stops. No, misery is like a loneliness in this, that both are left a voice with which to sing. That's where all songs come from, so I shall sing. O ships of Troy, did you know where you were going 10 years ago, when your rowers sweated and your proud beams parted the massive seas of the world? When every port was in your harbour, did you know then where you were heading? All your voyages had one destination. You were going to seek that Grecian traitor, Helen, wife to Menelaus, and bring her back to be death to every Trojan. O ships of Troy, from whose white decks iron men once sprang, for 10 long years now you have lain anchored in our own harbours, but today you are to sail away again, taking me, the queen of your city, with you, with shaven head and ravaged face, to be a servant at a servant's table. Did you have to do all this for this, to bring blood on my people, plunge me and all these women into mourning, all because you wanted the glory once again of sailing across to Greece, to anchor where shame is fatherless? She claps her hands. Get up there, you Trojan widows, Trojan virgins all mated to the dead. Have the guts to look down upon these smouldering ruins for the last time and articulate your grief. The leader of the chorus shouts, Your anguish, Hecuba, has ripped open our tent. Fear feeds our breasts, claws at our hearts. What do you want us to do? Hecuba replies, look down at those ships in the bay. And a woman cries, the Greeks are hoisting the sails. Another woman, I can see men carrying oars. The whole chorus says, they are leaving. The leader shouts to the others off stage, come out and see what is in store for you. The Greeks are getting ready to go home. You poor wretches, come out here and see for yourselves, all of you. Hecuba, no, no, not all of you, not Cassandra. Keep her inside, she is mad. At least spare me the last humiliation of letting the Greeks see me blushing with shame. A woman, what will they do? Put us to the sword? Another woman, abduct us? Ravage us? Hecuba replies, think the worst. It will be that. To herself she says, a slave? Whose? Where? In Argos? In Pythia? On some island off the coast? A pitiful old woman, more dead than alive. The useless hornet in a foreign hive, dragging out her last few days. Or I will have to squat night and day outside somebody's door at their beck and call, as nurse to some Greek matron's brats, or worse, stuck in their kitchen baking bitter bread, with nothing but rags to cover the ruins of my body, and only an earth floor to lie down upon. And I was Queen of Troy. A woman, if I throw my shuttle from side to side forever, I will never be on the looms of Ida again. Another woman, every member of my family is dead, my home burned to the ground. Looking on these walls which smell so acrid, I know that I am seeing them for the last time. The leader of the chorus, be quiet, preserve your strength. Worse misfortunes yet await you. A woman answers, are there worse than these? Yes, one night some drunken Greek will drag you to his filthy bed. Another woman, the thought of what my body may do makes me loathe each limb of it. Uprooted, to live away from here will be to live in hell. Another woman, I shall probably have to carry their slops. Maybe I will be a servant in Attica, on the fertile plain of Penae. At the foot of Mount Olympus, they say life is good there, even for slaves. The first woman, anything is better than being taken to the banks of Euripides. There I'd see Helen triumphant and have to obey Menelaus, the butcher of Troy. The leader of the chorus shouts, someone is coming. Who is it? They ask. A Greek. Look how he runs. He is coming to tell us what they are going to do with us. This is the end. We haven't yet left our native land, but we are foreign to it. As we are now things that belongs to Greece, their slaves even here, their slaves. Scene 4. Enter Talithybius, who speaks to Hecuba. Talithybius. You know who I am, noble lady. Talithybius, herald to the Greek army. I often entered the gates of your city to deliver messages from our generals, and now I am instructed to convey an edict to you. Hecuba. The moment we feared has come. Talithybius. I suppose it has. Your future has been decided. And where are we to go? Hecuba asks. You are all to be separated, each to different masters. What masters? Are we all to be treated exactly alike? No exception made for anyone? Surely not. Talithybius replies, No, give me time, I will tell you. I am waiting, Hecuba says. Cassandra? You have guessed correctly. She is to be one of the lucky ones. Agamemnon himself wants your daughter. As a servant to Clytemnestra? It is as I feared, Hecuba said. Not at all. The King of Kings wants her as his concubine. His harlot? He might even marry her in secret. So, Hecuba says, you know that she is already betrothed to the sun, Apollo, to him alone, and that the golden-headed god insists she remains a virgin. Of course, it's because her virginity can be guaranteed, she being a prophetess, that she is so attractive to his majesty. Hecuba, throw away the temple keys, poor child, tear off your holy fillet, and cover your hair with ash. Talithybius. Come now, worse things could happen to her than sharing a bed with a king. Hecuba. And what have you done with my daughter Polyxena? Talithybius. She serves Achilles. But Achilles is dead. She still serves him. What strange customs you Greeks have, to think that I gave her life, for her to spend it in a tomb. She's one of the lucky ones, I can tell you. Even Cassandra will often wish she was with her. Why? She has found peace there. Is she alive? Can she still see the sky or the stars at night? Tell me. Your look of shame is your answer. We have given her shelter. Shelter from what? Shelter from the world. True. And Andromeda? Well, of course, being Hector's wife, she was considered something special, and goes to Achilles' son. And what of me, broken with age, unable to walk without this stick? What work can I do? Who could possibly want me? Odysseus, a slave in his household. No, no, anybody but him. I spit on that dog, on that double-tongued monster who breathes hatred and discord wherever he finds friendship. Odysseus, O women of Troy, now weep for me, your queen, in misery alone. The chorus trills. What about us? What is to become of us? Talithybius. How should I know? It is not my business. The small fry will be sorted out in lots. To the guards he shouts, Go and fetch Cassandra. Agamemnon wants her within the hour. What's that? The tent's all red? Quick, stop any Trojan women from burning themselves alive. I can understand that a free people don't easily knuckle under to a catastrophe like this, but I don't want any embarrassing suicides on my hands. Do you understand? And certainly no human torches. That might be a way out for them, but it would be a bore for me. Hecuba. It isn't fire there at all. It's Cassandra. She's mad. Scene 5. Enter Cassandra, who says, "May this flame, this gentle flame, rise slowly, dance fiercely, round this torch of me, and lift its impetuous pride against the thighs of night, and stand up straight within the supple air. May Hymen bless the union that it makes, and grant that I, who was a virgin of the sun, Apollo, shall its full quietus make as I lie beside the king." To Hecuba she says, "Hold this torch, mother, lead the cortege." "What's wrong? Why are you crying?" "Because of my father, because of my brothers. It is too late to grieve for them, for I am to be married. Your tears should be of joy, of joy. Take it." She holds the torch to Hecuba, who refuses. "You refuse? Very well. My own hands shall coax and carry this flame to Hymen's couch, where a Greek is to take me, for even if the Queen of Night set a light to all her stars, and the entrails of the hemisphere debowled burned in their orbits, I would not have light enough. Darkness would mark my way as I walked towards the bed where I am to be joined to the enemy. So may this flame rise higher and higher until it licks the sky. For this is the day my life has grown to. Now, Phoebus Apollo, God that is my God, conduct this choir that is my choir, and you, my mother, dance. Join in this dance for her who was your daughter. Oh, please, mother, to please me. And why are these women of Troy not dressed for a carnival and singing hilariously? Come, now all together after me. Oh, woe, woe, woe." The leader of the chorus to Hecuba says, "Hold her back, your majesty. Hold on to her. She doesn't know what she is doing, and might even jump straight into his bed." Hecuba, "Give me that torch, child. You are not holding it upright." The chorus, "Her ecstasy is all despair. Misery has not made her sane." Cassandra, "They think I am mad. Listen, mother, I tell you, you should rejoice at this betrothal. And if you see me suddenly timid, I want you to thrust me into Agamemnon's arms and let him carry me off to Argos. For once there I will turn our marriage bed into his tomb. Helen, had 1,000 Greeks killed beneath our walls, but I shall do even worse to them. Cassandra will be their doom. Through me and because of me, their king, their great king shall perish. By my sacrifice, their royal house shall fall, and I shall destroy his people, as he has destroyed our own. So now is not the time to weep, unless tears of joy. So laugh as the wind laughs. Let there be a gale of laughter, for I swear my father and my brothers will be revenged. Hecuba, how? By you? Cassandra replies, by me. Hecuba, my child, you will be a slave, helpless. How can you? Cassandra with an axe, there, right in the skull. I'm not saying it will be I who strikes the blow, but I guarantee this King of Kings will bleed all the same. Oh, how he'll bleed. As for me, they'll cut my throat. A long time later, the son will kill his own mother and flee, dogs at his heels. That will be the end of the house of Atreus. Nobody will ever fear them again. The chorus chimes in, "Don't, Cassandra, you'll embarrass us. And you are making your mother feel ashamed. Not in front of the Greeks, we beg you. Don't let our conquerors hear your prophecies and smile at your distraction." Cassandra, why should I be silent? I speak only what the son Apollon has told me. I could tell you more, but it is too horrible. You are right. I will say no more. To Hecuba, she says, "Don't cry. The Greeks are victorious, but what now? What happens to them? I will tell you. They will be beaten. They will be humiliated. Some will fall outside of Troy, others on the plains. They will perish in their thousands, not in defense of the city, on their native land, as our men did. They will die for nothing. Few of them will ever see their homes again. They will not even be buried. Nobody will say a prayer over them. Trojan earth will digest their flesh, and their wives will never find their bones. These wretches are all recruits, a slaughtered but unburied army. The vultures wait, and oblivion awaits them. Not a trace of these conquerors will remain, not even their shadow, except for a handful who will crawl back to Greece, only to find themselves unwanted and unwelcome. Apollo himself has told me how Clytemnestra has behaved in Agamemnon's absence, but I won't repeat it. And all this for what? 10 years to seek out one adulteress, and their victory will be to find their own wives have been faithless to them, and every man's a cuckold. To Talithybius, this is what you call winning the war. True, we have lost it, but not our honour. We have fallen on our own soil, defending our own city. Gentle hands waited to nurse our wounds, and watching eyes waited to weep. When we could bleed no more, when our king fell, Troy itself was his widow. To Hecuba, you should be grateful to these Greeks. They even turned Hector, who was a modest, gentle man, into an immortal legend of courage. We who defended our native land are glorified, but those who conquered us shall be cursed. They started this filthy war, and they will die as stupidly as they have lived. To the Trojan women, she says, "Lift up your heads, be proud, leave your revenge to me. He who embraces me will be destroyed by me." A woman says to Cassandra, "I wish I could believe you. I wish I could laugh and be as crazily defiant as you are. But look at us. Take a look at yourself. All your singing and spitting won't get you anywhere. It's all words, impotent words." Talithybius, and they'd prove rather expensive if we didn't know she was insane. Aside, he says, the more I see of the intimate lives of the great, the more I realize they are as petty and perverse as the next man. As for the most mighty king of Argos, who has taken it into his head to desire this creature who's not right in hers, all I can say is a poor devil like me wouldn't want her for all the gold in the world. But there it is. So come on, my pretty, follow us. Let's get going. You heard them. Words will not help you now. He then turns to Hecuba. I will come back for you immediately. Odysseus sends for you. You won't find it so bad with him as a servant to Penelope. People speak rather well of her. Cassandra, a servant? There's only one servant here, and that you insolent and obsequious lout, with the manners of a farmhand. You don't know what you are talking about. My mother won't be going to Ithaca. Apollo has assured me. She will die here in Troy. Teleithibius, not if I have anything to do with it, she won't. Her suicide would finish me. Cassandra, who said anything about suicide? How else? You'd like to know, wouldn't you? But I shan't tell you. As for Odysseus and all his double talk, that man doesn't know what he is in for. He's got another 10 years. Another 10 years of mud and blood before he sees Ithaca again. Oh yes, I know, everything's ready and he's about to set sail. But the end is often only another beginning. The giant flesh-eating Cyclops squats upon his rock, his mouth watering, waiting for him. So does Circe, who turns men into pigs, not to mention the Scylla and the Charybdis, who lick their lips at the smell of a shipwreck. I tell you, the only place Odysseus is going is to hell. We know a few who are waiting for him there. Cassandra turns to the women. I can assure you Odysseus will suffer. Whatever your misfortunes are, he will envy them. Cassandra looks off into the far distance. That's it. When he eventually climbs out of Hades and lands on his own island, he finds that it too has been conquered. She emerges out of her trance. But what's Odysseus to me? Turning to Teleithibius. Well, what are you waiting for? I'm impatient to be joined to my betrothed, for better or for worse. No, just the worst. So toll the wedding bells. Our marriage shall be a cortege down the road to hell. And this generalissimo, this king of kings, who wants to embrace the daughter of the sun, will never see the light again. Endless night will devour you, and your body will be chucked over a cliff. Toll the wedding bells, for our broken bodies will be naked together, and vultures alone will be satisfied. Their beaks will be intimate with my breast, their claws shall caress your manhood. Here I'll tear the veil of my virginity, of prophecy, while my body is still unravished. May the gentle breeze waft it to the true God of love, the sun, the sun. Now which is my boat? Where do I embark? Since I am death, see that a black flag flies at the mast of the ship which carries me. Goodbye, mother. Be calm, you are going to die soon. Father, I am coming to join you in your grave. I won't keep you waiting. I am coming to you at the head of a hideous cortege, made up of the entire house of Atrides. Who slaughtered you? Toll the wedding bells. She goes off with the soldiers. Dong, dong, toll the wedding bells. And Hecuba faints. The leader of the chorus, quick, Hecuba has collapsed. Don't stand there, lift her gently, she is still our queen. And they do so gently. Hecuba, I did not seek your concern, and I do not thank you for it. What I wanted was to embrace the earth, to yield myself to its blind unconsciousness. For you see, we are all blind too. We can do nothing but submit, but unhappily, though we are blind, we alone are conscious. The chorus, O royal lady, pray to the gods. Hecuba savagely replies, no, they are allies, not to be relied upon. Let us be silent. The chorus says, silence is something we fear. Hecuba says, then stop complaining. Better think when you were last happy. The chorus now say in alternating verses, that was yesterday, it was only yesterday that we were happy. That was the same day Troy fell. In the morning we saw from the ramparts that the beach was deserted and their fleet had left our bay. There in the middle of the plain stood a great wooden horse on wheels, a wooden horse with a golden harness. The people of Troy, seeing this idol from the rock of the citadel, cried out, it is over. The siege is finished, the Greeks are gone, our suffering is at an end. So hoist their wooden idol into our Acropolis as an offering to Pallas Athena. Zeus's noble daughter, who has forgiven us. Everyone was shouting, strangers kissed in the streets, old men asked what all the excitement was about. It's peace, we cried, and lifted them off their feet. We tethered ropes around this idol to haul it into Athene's temples. Everyone lent a hand, some pulling, others pushing. It took all day, and not till dusk was it there. Then our victory songs and the sound of Lydian lutes enlivened the night. That was yesterday. All the houses in the city were dark and empty. Everyone was out in the streets, dancing with torches, singing. Nobody slept. It was a night of carnival, a carnival of peace. That was how Troy went down, in riotous joy, and that was only yesterday. The leader of the chorus now sings, nothing is more deceptive than happiness. Joy is a cheat which covers up for the misery stalking behind the grin. At midnight we were still singing, then suddenly the whole city rang with one refrain. It was the cry of death. War was back again. Pallas Athene had forgiven nothing. The Greeks had leapt out of the idol and were slaughtering our men and boys. That was how our night of celebration ended, with the dawn of death. Hecuba, Troy wasn't conquered, the Trojans weren't defeated. They were betrayed by the goddess Athena. It's always a mistake to worship a woman. Leader of the chorus, look, your majesty, a chariot is coming. A woman, it's Andromeda, Hector's wife, carrying their son Astyanax in her arms. To Andromeda, they cry, where are you taking him? Andromeda says, to my master. Hecuba now turns and looks coldly at Andromeda and sees Astyanax, who carries a small basket. Hecuba, misery, everywhere I look, misery. Andromeda, what are you crying about? It's my loss. It is ours. No, mine, Andromeda says. Hecuba replies, you are all my children. Where? I mourn for all my sons. Andromeda says, but I only for one, Hector. Hecuba, I weep for our burning city. Andromeda, I weep for Hector's city. Hecuba, for our royal home. Andromeda, only for the house where I became a woman, where I gave birth to Astyanax. Hecuba, it's burning, it's burnt, everything's flattened, a shambles of ash. Andromeda retorts, you are to blame. It was you who gave birth to Paris, that damned adventurer. Didn't the gods themselves, foreseeing his future, order you to smother him? You refused. It is we who are punished for that, for your pride, which you hawked around as a mother's love. It was this prescient infant of yours which smashed Troy like a toy. And now Pallas Athena alone can laugh at the heap of corpses piled up at the foot of her statue, while these vultures encircle us, and we stand here as slaves. Hecuba, broken, her face within her hands. If Priam could cry out of hell, he would shout, you lie, you lie. Andromeda, if Hector could come back, he would save me, he would revenge me. Then quietly, without gentleness, she screams, I have never liked you. You have never liked me, but you are an old woman. I feel sorry for you. She pauses. Polyxena is dead. Hecuba, dead? What a coward I am. That's what Talithybios was trying to tell me, and I hadn't the courage to understand. How dead? Andromeda, they cut her throat on Achilles' tomb. I saw her body. I covered her face with a black veil. Hecuba, in horror, slaughtered on a tomb, like a goat or an ox. What a terrible death. Andromeda, why terrible? She is dead, that's all. Better off than I who live. Hecuba, what do you know of death or life? I tell you, death is a nothingness. However painful life is, it is better than death. It has hope. I prefer life at its worst to death at its best. Andromeda, you will to live's insane. You know very well you've nothing left to live for. Your sons are all dead, and your belly is too old to breed any more. Your future is completely hopeless. So much the better for you. You can give in and sink in your own circumstances, rather than clinging on to a life that's finished. As far as you're concerned, if you do that, you won't suffer so much, for death is a void that is eternal and peaceful. Listen to me. It is the same for Polyxena now, as if it was before she was born. For now she is dead, she cannot suffer any more, and is unaware of the suffering she once experienced. Her sheet is white, clean again. But I still suffer. I still know I suffer. Life has more scribble over me. I was a good wife and a devoted mother. Some of us are. But as many of us know, it doesn't matter how a woman behaves. The world thinks the worst of us and slanders us if we give it half a chance. I didn't give it half a chance. I stayed at home where the gossips couldn't get at me. It was no sacrifice. I was happy devoting myself wholly to Hector. But you see, old woman, thy virtuous life has been my undoing, and my reputation for being chaste recoils on me, for it is that which now makes Neoptolemus, the son of the man who murdered my husband, demand me for his bed. I am frightened, and it is myself I fear, for I do not want my memory of Hector to be erased. But I am a woman, and a woman is only a woman. They say it takes just one night of pleasure to master her. A woman is only an animal, and that is why I am frightened. Hector was the only man I ever knew. I loved his courage, his wisdom, and his gentleness, the touch of his hands on my body, and now the thought that this same body may groan for joy when some other man lies upon it, makes me want to tear it limb from limb. Polyxena was lucky. She was murdered still a virgin. To Hecuba, liar, you say life is hope. Look at me, I am alive. What hope have I? None. I know what life's going to write upon me. The leader of the chorus sings, you are a princess, but misfortune levels us by telling us of your fears. You make me aware of my own. Hecuba, when the sea is rough, sailors sail into it bravely, but when there is a tempest, they haul their canvases down and let the waves drive them where they will. I do that, and I advise you to do the same. My child Hector is dead. Your tears will not bring him back. Forget him. Devote the virtues which he loved to your new husband. Andromeda, you disgusting old slut. To think that Hector's own mother should turn pimp. You are nothing but a raw-mongerer. Hecuba, do what I say for Astyanax's sake. He is the son of my son and the last of his race. Do it for his sake, so that he or his son's sons may one day refound this city and avenge us. Enters Talthybius. What now? To Andromeda, don't hate me. Why not, she says. I am only a messenger. It is my distasteful duty to tell you what my masters have decided. Andromeda says, come to the point. Don't be afraid to speak. Talthybius, your son. Are they going to separate us? In a way, yes. We shan't have the same masters. He won't have one at all. You are leaving him here? I don't know how to tell you. Spare me your scruples. Get on with your job, lackey. They are going to kill him. She clasps her child to her, staring in horror. He continues quickly. It was Odysseus who persuaded them. He urged the Greek assembly not to spare the life of the heir to the Trojan throne, because he might sometime become a focal point for rebellion. The assembly accepted his resolution. So it's no use holding on to him like that. Give him to me. Andromeda resists. Come now, hand him over. There is nothing else you can do. Neither your city nor your husband can protect you now. Nothing exists anymore. Don't you understand? We give the orders now. Do I have to tear him from you? Don't be silly. Bow to the inevitable and accept it with dignity. For God's sake, isn't there anything that can make you hand the child over? Can't you see you won't gain anything by trying my patience or making the soldiers angry? If you do that, they'll just leave him to the vultures. But if you hand him over quietly, we might even let you bury him, and our generals will treat you with more consideration. Andromeda to the soldiers, don't you dare lay hands on him. I'll hand him over later. The soldiers back away, watching her. Andromeda looks down at her child in silence, and then slowly lifts up its hands one by one, examining the small fingers. She then holds one of his feet in her hands and runs her forefinger over the line of the child's mouth and eyes, as though she had never seen the child or any other before. The soldiers approach her now. She looks up and they stop. She walks towards them, holding out the child. Andromeda says, here you are, take it, kill it, hit it with an axe, throw it on the fire, it is yours, I cannot protect it. I could only give life to it. What are you waiting for? Take it. The soldier goes to lead the child off when Astyanax spills his basket of seashells. The soldier bends down to pick them up and places them in the basket and takes the child off. Carry it to the ramparts and wait for me there, Telepheibios says to the soldiers and to himself. All very distasteful, I feel quite sick. That's the worst of war. Those who give orders seldom see the mess it makes. When you hold a child by the feet and bash its head on a wall, Hecuba, that child was my son's son. There goes our future, mine and yours. She covers her eyes with her hands. What a blessing blindness would be. She exits. The chorus chimes up. Once again the gentle dawn illumines a burnt-out city. This is the second time in our history. The brazen dawn has revealed a tangle of limbs in our gutters, rubble spewing over our streets. This is the second time the Greeks have liberated us. The first time it was many years ago. They invaded us from Salamis. They told us then that they were bringing Greek culture and European enlightenment to the backwoods people of Asia. Our city burned with progress. Our young men had their limbs amputated by philosophy. The Greeks always envied our harvests. Their soil was eroded, ours still fertile. That was all there was to it, many years ago. But that time, though, they sacked our city. They did not lay waste to our countryside. They went away, leaving us with the strength to rebuild. Our gods were merciful then. But now they have abandoned us, though we lift our hands to the heaven and cry, "Save us, save us." Nobody answers, only echo. This dawn is indifferent. Our gods are death. The chorus now sinks to the ground, and Menelaus enters with his soldiers, saying, "What a glorious morning! This is the day of all days, the day I've lived for. There that slut sits now, squatting in a hovel, a prisoner at my mercy. I have no mercy. Now is the moment I have lived for, when I caught up with her again, and could make her suffer as she made me suffer. You will have guessed that I am King Menelaus, well known for his misfortunes. Some people at home criticize me. They say I started this terrible war merely because of a woman. But that is not fair. It was because of a man, and that man was Paris. That shit whom I took into my palace, and who ran off with my wife. That's why this war has been fought, and I am grateful to the gods, have punished Paris for his perfidy. Neither her nor his city exist any more. And now it's this woman's return, this woman whose name sticks in my throat, whose name I have never spoken for years, 10 years. I have two alternatives, either to have her executed here, amongst the ruins she chose for her home, or to take her back to Sparta and settle her account there. I've decided to do precisely that, for by postponing her punishment, I increase it. When she reaches Sparta, the mothers and widows of the Greeks whose men fell here will lynch her, stoning her to death. That will be her end. To the soldiers, get her out of here, drag her out by her hair, make her grovel at my feet. Then I promise you will hoist the sails and only wait for the wind. Hecuba, at last I can believe in you, Zeus, you the unknown and the unknowable, you who seated at the center of the earth can at the same time hold the world in your hands like a ball in space. At last you have my grudging belief. At any rate, I believe in your justice, for by this I see that you do punish the wicked. Menelaus, that's a strange sort of prayer. Who are you? Hecuba, Queen of Troy. I didn't recognize you. Are you really going to punish Helen? I gather from your prayer that you'd like to see her put to death. Of course I would, Hecuba replied. So would I, so would I. Hecuba, that's what I meant by saying Zeus was just. Do it, but when you do it, do not look at her. Why not? It is 10 years since I saw her. I want to see what those years have done to her too. Hecuba replied, nothing. You should know that women like her keep their beauty because life doesn't touch them. Their indifference to the misery they cause. They age late and then suddenly. Her eyes are still beautiful, though death looks out of them. Her skin is still smooth. For her lips, men will slaughter each other and cities will burn. Helen now comes out of the tent. Go now, don't look at her, Hecuba continues. You think your desire for her is dead. She will rekindle it, and you'll be in her clutches again. Nonsense, Menelaus retorts, turning to Helen. He says, release her. Helen, you need not have used force to have me brought to you. The instant I saw you, I wanted to run to you, for though you hate me, I still love you. I have wanted you. I have waited for you. Let me ask you one question, and I will never ask another. What do you want to do to me? I, Menelaus said. You. Menelaus, to kill you. Helen, if you, my love, want my death, then I, my love, desire my own death also. But just let me explain. No, I don't want to hear your explanations. You are going to die, that is all. Helen, are you afraid to listen? Aren't you afraid to die? Hecuba, it's too late now. I begged you not to look, but you may just as well let her talk. There's no risk there. Whatever she has to say, I have an answer to it. And will stuff her lies down her throat. So let her talk of your past. It will give you the courage to see that she has no future. Menelaus, you needn't worry. There is nothing she can say that will have any effect on me, but I'll let her talk since you want me to. She knows only too well there is nothing she can say or do that will have any effect on me. She is already dead as far as I am concerned. Helen, placing herself in front of Menelaus. No, do not turn away. Look at me. Have the courage to look at me for the last time. Look on every part, then know what it is you are killing. You hate me. I do not hate you. If only you knew, yes. There are some things you should know. Oh, I know the sort of things I've been accused of, but I've an explanation for each. I don't know whether you'll believe me or not, but let me speak and have the courage to listen. Do you really know who is really to blame for all this misery? She is, that old woman. She was the start of it all. It was she who gave birth to Paris. The gods themselves were alarmed. They foresaw that the scoundrel would foment a war. And what a war! They ordered her to smother him. Did Hecuba do it? No. And King Priam was too weak to make her. All of this stems from the fact that was the beginning of it all. Paris was only 20 when 3 goddesses competed for his favours. Pallas Athena herself offered him the whole of Greece if he'd choose her. And with her behind him, he'd have overrun it in no time. And what was Hera's bribe? She offered him Asia Minor and the whole of Europe. But Cyprus offered nothing. Cyprus, Aphrodite, nothing except me. She merely described me. She won. Paris chose her for his goddess, then worshipped me. You were lucky then, for if he'd chosen either of the other 2, he would have conquered Greece. If it were not for this body which your soldiers have misused, you yourself would be subject of that barbarian. But your luck was my misfortune, that you might escape. I became the victim. Aphrodite sacrificed me and my beauty. My beauty became my shame. Menelaus spat, "You slut, why did you go?" Helen, darling, it was you, not I, who left. You were a careless husband when you went off to Crete and left me with your lecherous guest. You could have resisted. I, a mere mortal, resist a goddess, Aphrodite? Could you do that? A pity you cannot punish her for what she did to me. If you could, you'd be stronger than Zeus himself, for even the king of the gods is as much her slave as everybody else's. Why did I go? That's a question I have often asked myself, and the answer is always the same. It was not I who left, but somebody who was not with me. Aphrodite was an unseen guest in your palace, like an invisible shadow to Paris. And as you know, Cyprus had made a bargain with Paris to give me to him as long as he lived. There was nothing I could do to break this odious and sacred tie. But the moment Paris was dead, I was free. Immediately I did everything I could to get back to you. At night I climbed up on the city walls, tied ropes together to carry me to the ground where I might run to you. Your own guards can prove it, because they always caught me. That is all I have to say. That is my story. I am a victim of circumstance, destiny's plaything, abducted, married against my will to a man I loathed, forced to live in a foreign city I despised. All this I endured to save my country. My own chastity was my contribution, and there is nothing more precious than a woman than that. Yet in spite of this sacrifice, they are wanting to stone me to death. I am hated by the Greeks, detested by the Trojans, alone in a world and understood by none. Now tell me this. Do you think it is right to put me to death when it was the gods, not I, who sinned? If you don't, then take me where I belong, in your bed, on your throne. To do less would be to insult the gods, who, for all their mistakes, do not err in justice. Hecuba, I am beginning to doubt it. The chorus, don't let her get away with it, your majesty. This woman is dangerous. Puncture her eloquence with a few facts. Hecuba, very ingenious. You'd like us to believe that the 3 goddesses were as vain as you are. that they would trade their holy cities to corrupt a jury at a beauty contest? Is it likely that Hera would give Argos sanctuary? Or Athene would ever deliver Athens to the Trojans? They are merely teasing Paris by trying to suggest that the goddesses are vain too. You do not diminish your own viciousness. As for all this is about Aphrodite, you make me laugh, if I could laugh. Though I must say, I liked your bit about Aphrodite entering the palace as a shadow to my son. Tell me, why would she bother to do that when she can control us like marionettes from the comfort and security of heaven? If King Menelaus wants to know the truth, all he has to do is remember how handsome my son Paris was. Immediately this woman saw him, she wanted him. That's all there was to it. I am tired of hearing people blaming Aphrodite for lusts which are all their own. Paris was very good looking. He stayed with you. He was a prince of Asia. She was also impressed by the golden ornaments he wore. Greed added to her lust. She didn't rest until she'd satisfied both desires. Hecuba now turns to Helen. You always had to make do with second best, didn't you? Sparta is a poor country. There even the queen has to be economical. And you wanted luxury. You wanted to be able to copulate all night and chuck bucketfuls of gold out of your windows during the day. So you ditched your husband for a man you lusted after and traded your shabby little kingdom for the richest city in the whole of Asia. It was good business, wasn't it? Yet you tried to make out that you were carried off against your will. Will! Odd that nobody saw this abduction. Strange that you didn't cry out. Or if you did, nobody heard you. And when your own people declared war, came here to fetch you and besieged this city, how many tears of remorse did you shed when you saw piles of Greek bodies in heaps against these walls? Not one. When things were really going well for them, you conveniently remembered Menelaus was your husband. His name used to spring to your lips, then to keep Paris up, to scratch. But when the Greeks suffered any reverse, you forgot your first husband's name again. Always an opportunist, always keeping your eye on the main chance, never on virtue, never on loyalty either. And of course, now the Greeks have won, you come here with some cock and bull story about trying to tie ropes together to make your escape. And that the guards witness these attempts of yours. You bitch, you know damn well all these men have been butchered, and this because of you. Unfortunately for you, and for me too, I am still alive. You have one witness, and this is my evidence. How many times did I come to you and beg you to leave my son and go home to Greece? I pleaded with you to do that, knowing Paris would in time forget you and marry again. If you had gone through those walls, the war would have stopped instantly. And didn't I offer again and again to have you conducted secretly back to your own people? But you never listened, did you, my beauty? You didn't like the idea of quitting that palace where you strutted like a strumpet. where every man ogled you, including King Priam, my husband. Just look at yourself now, decked out with Trojan jewels. Your vapid face thick with makeup, the lot. And the man you're trying to seduce now is your own husband. You should be throwing yourself at his feet, wearing rags, your wig cropped, cringing for forgiveness. Menelaus, be firm, do not listen to her. There will be no peace in Greece till she is done away with. Give the order, make an example out of her. The chorus chimes in, your ancestors will curse you. If you hesitate, your country will reproach you. If you are weak, be strong, noble, punish her. Menelaus, that is my intention. I am convinced she left Sparta of her own free will. All this talk about Aphrodite Cyprus is entirely irrelevant. He turns and addresses Helen. You dishonored me. You shall die. The army will stone you. You are lucky you won't suffer for very long. We endured 10 years. Helen, you are my husband. You are my king. I implore you to forgive me. I have done nothing. No, that's not true, my darling. I know that I have hurt you. But blame the gods for that, not me. Forgive me, take me back. Hecuba replies, let me speak now, not for my sake or Troy's sake, but for mine enemies, the Greeks who died. Do not betray them, do not betray their children. Menelaus, be quiet, old woman. Indicating Helen, that creature doesn't mean anything to me. He turns to the soldiers, take her aboard my ship. Hecuba, but only a minute ago you were going to have her killed immediately. I was angry then. I now realize my original decision was correct. It is better she should die in Greece. Perhaps it is, but don't let her go on your boat. Why not? Because once a man has loved, as you have loved, his love does not die, even when it seems to be dead. That's true. But she whom I have loved is no more. I never loved that. Or if I did, it was not me. But I'll take your advice, old woman. Maybe it is wise. She can go on some other ship, and when she reaches Greece, that wretch will die as wretchedly as she deserves. I'll make an example of her. It's not easy to make women chaste, but where inclination fails, I'll make terror teach them. He exits the stage. The chorus sing to Hecuba. Do you believe he will kill her? It's an even chance, Hecuba replies. Look, look at the coward, the chorus chimes. What a liar he is. There she goes now, right onto his own ship, and he trailing behind her. Now the game is up. She'll bring him to heel and reign unpunished over Sparta. Nothing pays off like crime. Hecuba, and I thought you were just Zeus. I must be going mad. Nothing will now ever assuage the bitterness our dead must feel. as they in their invisible battalions crowd the beach to watch that brazen hussy step onto that ship, knowing they died for nothing. The chorus, absolutely nothing. Helen will see Sparta again. There she will reign. Nothing pays off like crime. Zeus has deprived us of everything, our temples, our incensed altars, our city, our fertile fields, our harbours. And you leave us nothing, though we were innocent. While you allow Helen to show her heels with Menelaus and reign over Sparta again as if nothing has happened. Nothing pays off like crime. The men whom we loved, who fathered our children, will haunt us in these blackened stones, with all the anguish of the unburied dead, while we, their widows, wander in far-off lands with loneliness as our companion, growing old and growing ugly, and some becoming whores and concubines. While that most honourable lady calls for her golden mirror again and sits contemplating her own smug beauty. That's what it will be. Nothing pays off like crime. Hecuba. A pleasant journey, Helen. May you drop dead on it. If there's a god anywhere amongst all these gods, may he grasp all his lightning like a dagger and strike that ship with it. May it catch fire and sink, and you, Menelaus, you impotent old cuckold, may you drown too. I'd like the sea to swallow you both up. Then spew your swollen bodies on the same beach where your compatriots would contemplate your beauty. Skin mottled and putrid, flesh slipping from the bone. Then they could see if crime pays off so well. Enter Teleithibios, holding the body of Astyanax. Hector's son. The chorus. Look, look, look. Here's the little corpse of Astyanax. They dropped him like a stone from the high tower. Teleithibios. Hecuba, all our ships have now put to sea except one. It waits for you and the rest of the booty. Achilles' son has had to leave in a hurry. War has started again in his country. An usurper has seized his father's kingdom. Hecuba, 10 years of it here, and now it starts up somewhere else again. Always war somewhere. Has his father lost his throne? Don't expect me to be sympathetic. And Andromeda? Teleithibios answers, he took her with him. Before she left, she went and knelt by Hector's tomb. I found it moving, very moving. Neoptolemus was compassionate enough to allow a sepulchre to be built. And look at this. Hecuba, his shield, Hector's shield. Teleithibios, by custom, of course, it belongs to the son of his conqueror. But in this instant he has waived that right, so we won't be taking it with us to hang on the palace of Pythia. We thought that it might distress Andromeda to see this relic of Hector's hanging on the walls of her new bridal chamber, and we did not want to upset her. That would have been cruel, and we Europeans are both civilized and sensitive. So you needn't bother trying to find planks to make a coffin for Astyanax. Here it is. He can rest on his father's shield, my instructions are to hand over the body to you, since his mother has already left. Here, take it. Perhaps you'll let me help you bury it. As you see, I've already cleaned it up, or tried to. There was a lot of blood. Here will do, won't it? I'll help you dig it. Needn't be very deep. As I say, our ship is waiting. After 10 years, I can hardly believe it. Hecuba. Lay this shield upon the earth it protected. I loved him. This ring is still polished, where it was rubbed by his arm. And now this eye of brass, which once turned back to the sun, will lay where no light can look upon it, as a coffin for his son. She takes the baby's body in her arms. Bloody Greeks, drunk with power, yet frightened of a child, with Hector dead, our army slaughtered, and our city a cinder. You were still frightened of a child. If you feared him, you will soon fear one another. Civil war will do to you what you have done to us, and when both Troy and Greece have been levelled, as war levels, all that will remain will be this little tomb standing amongst these shattered columns. On it shall bear this inscription: here lies a child murdered because he frightened Greece. Over the body, Hecuba. Little one, you will never grow to strength, or know that love which makes a man equal to a god, nor will you fall or fail as men do from weakness or from age. But if men can be happy, you could have been happy. All life's possibilities were held in this tiny hand. I always said he has his father's hands. Now that which moved is still, forever still, and the blood congeals on his battered skull. What a waste, waste, waste. To the woman, she says, go and find something with which we can wrap his body. Some of the women exit. Hecuba lays the corpse upon the shield and says, to think I used to believe in happiness. I tell you, destiny is drunk and the gods are blind, clumsy, deaf and indifferent. A man's a fool if he thinks he has achieved happiness, unless he is on his deathbed. Now I'll bind these wounds which will never heal. The women returned. Did you find anything? Only these rags. Rags will do, Hecuba replied. The dead are not particular. The soldiers place the body on the shield and take little Astyanax away. Hecuba watches silently, and then she suddenly explodes with anger. You filthy gods, you always hated me, and of all cities, Troy was the one city you detested. Why? Didn't we mumble enough prayers, make ritual and habitual sacrifice? And all for what? Today we suffer in hell, and you smirk at us from heaven. Keep your heaven. Go on licking your lips over human misery. But I tell you, this time you omnipresent immortals have made one small mistake. You should have destroyed us with an earthquake if you wanted to sweep us out of the way. If you'd done that, nobody would have ever mentioned Troy again. But as it is, we held out for 10 whole years against the whole of Greece, and then were only beaten by a cheap trick. We die, but we do not die. 2,000 years from now, our courage will still be talked about. It was something real, like your injustice. You have condemned me, now I'll condemn you. Soon all of you mortals will be as dead as we are. Come on then, what are you waiting for? Have you run out of thunderbolts? You filthy cowards. The leader of the chorus sings, don't, we beg you, you'll bring down other misfortunes upon us. There's always something worse. Here it comes, look, they are setting light to the Acropolis. Enter Telethybius. My orders were to destroy anything left standing. To an officer in his suite, he orders, burn Troy, see that nothing remains. And to the women he says, when you hear the trumpet, file down in an orderly fashion to the beach. It will be a signal for you to leave. Soldiers enter, and Telethybius turns to Hecuba. Odysseus has sent these men to fetch you. Poor old woman, you'd better follow them. Hecuba replies, now is the mountain of my misfortune capped, to be carried off, leaving my Troy in flames. I salute those flames, the greatest city the world has ever seen, to be populated by rodents, decorated by brambles. I said the gods were death. That was not true. They are evil. It is a waste of time to ask them for help. Better to rely on my legs. Come on, old bones, don't let me down. And she walks unsteadily away. But Telethybius shouts, where's she off to? Stop her. She must have gone out of her mind, Hecuba. Oh, the pity of it, poor Troy. The chorus. Troy is no more but a memory, our memory. Hecuba, oh, the waste of it. So many hands, so many hours and hours of work. Its glory that it was home. Now ash settles on what we were, and smoke describes what we have become. The chorus sing, the pity of it, the waste of it. Hecuba kneels and beats her hands upon the ground. O earth, dear earth, be merciful. Open up and take us into yourselves. Don't let them part us from you. The chorus question, what was that? What was that noise? Hecuba, that groan was the sound a city makes when dying. The walls of Troy collapse. Stand firm, now make them drag us off. No Trojan feet will ever walk willingly away from Troy. The soldiers drag the women off, and there is a blackout. Poseidon now appears, looking down at the prisoners waiting upon the beach. Poseidon, poor Hecuba, you shall not die among your enemies. I shall let you go aboard. Then later take you down into my kingdom of the sea, and I will raise up a rock to you near your native land. so that my waves will break over you ceaselessly, repeating your innumerable sorrows. Poseidon turns and calls out, Pallas, Pallas Athena, let's get to work. And in a flash of lightning, Athena arrives. Idiots, we'll make you pay for this, you stupid bestial mortals, making war, burning cities, violating tombs and temples, torturing your enemies, bringing suffering on yourselves. Can't you see? War will kill you, all of you. And the curtain closes. This was a play by Euripides, and it was to show that war is never fruitful. As I stated at the beginning of this video, Greeks mourned collectively whilst watching shows, theatre, tragedy. The theatre itself was Dionysus. The ritual and healing was watching a Greek tragedy. So we are collectively working on our own healing in this. Thank you for listening. And now I leave you, thinking and pondering the women of Troy and every woman who has befallen the fate of war, of every man who has been a pawn and had to fight in a war, for all of those cultures who have been wiped out and stamped out by an aggressive neighbour. We remember you.